What's up, guys? This is the Honest Outlaw here, and today we're going to be doing a quick comparison between the Beretta M9A4 and the Sig M17 and M18 variants. Now, before we do that, I want to mention my page supporters. Thank you guys very much. It's because of you guys I can afford guns and ammo. You guys purchased most of the guns and ammo you see on the channel, including most of the guns in this review. So if you are interested in helping the channel, that's the best way to do it. Go down to the link in the description and sign up. Also in that description is a link to a local shelter named Iowa. It's the YSS, the youth shelter. The donate link is down there in the description as well. Please go down and donate a few bucks to those kids. They could use your help. Now, what we have on the table here is an M17 and M18 and an M9A4. However, I did want to mention right off the bat that this one has had some moderate changes. This is actually my M17 in its current configuration. However, we're essentially going to be using this to reference the barrel length because the M17 and M18 are the same in almost every single way, and we're going to be mostly referring to this gun, however, because this is still completely stock, and then obviously the Beretta M9A4 is completely stock as well. Now, the magazine compatibility and everything is going to be a little bit different. We'll talk about everything. But first, we'll go into the M9A4. This is a double single-action pistol with a all-metal frame. It's got an aluminum frame with a 5.1-inch barrel and a full-length slide with a Picatinny rail, front slide serrations, threaded barrel, tritium sights, optic mount capabilities, manual safety / decocker. This one's actually a decocker model, only G model. So if you have it cocked and locked like that and you don't want it to be, you can just press your decocker and it will press you back out to double action. So that's nice. We have interchangeable grip systems. We have the large and small Vertec grip, extended magazine release, single-sided controls. Now, if you're unfamiliar with double single action, put it around in the chamber and you usually carry in double action like this, so you have this long first trigger pull like that, but when the slide cycles, you have that crisp, really nice and short single action trigger, which is very fast and accurate. Adversely, the M17 and M18 series are polymer frame striker fired guns, so they're quite a bit different in function, although they do shoot the same round. They're both 9mm pistols. So this has a polymer frame. The lower here is plastic or polymer, and the top is essentially just the standard steel slide. This one also has optics mounts capable for the delta point, and it does have adapters for the RMR and all kinds of stuff. This one also comes with night sights, although it's a little bit different setup, as you can see there. It also has front slide serrations. It also comes in 50 shades of FDE, which is pretty cool, similar to the Scar. I think it looks very nice. But this one does have a little bit more ambi controls on it because it is a more modern design. It has a better safety, in my opinion, as well. Instead of the slide-mounted safety, we have a frame-mounted 1911 style safety with a very nice and tucked away slide lock / slide release. The takedown on the M17s are very easy as well, but the trigger only has one trigger pull because it is striker fired, so it's going to have a consistent trigger pull, which is going to be a little bit easier to use for beginners than maybe this version. However, there's going to be a little bit less customizability sort of on this, and then there's going to be a little bit less on this depending on which features you go with, which we'll talk about here. So one of the defining features of the M17 / M18 / P320 system in general is its modularity, and because of that, it was chosen by the US military, arguably over some designs which are a little bit more proven. Now, the actual firearm itself in the M18 or M17 is right here. It's actually a fire control module. So we take down the gun so we can see the fire control module is like that. And we'll just take it out here, and you can see that's the actual firearm itself. And this lower is not a serialized part. That's why you can buy lowers for around $70 or $80, even up to $200 or $300, depending on where you buy them. And then you can put them on to change ergonomics. Sorry, I think I said this one's more modular. This one's more modular. Sorry about that. We're going to get into that. But you can change the lowers for really cheap, and you can change the triggers and trigger modules and all that really, really easy on the Sig P320. Essentially just a drop-in situation. If you want to take this out and put it in, all you really have to do is fandangle a takedown lever, get that out of there, pop the thing out, and put it in an all-new gun, which is really nice. You can have one fire control module, especially if you're in a state where buying guns isn't all that easy. You can have one serialized part and a whole bunch of different configurations to put it in. You can put it in a very heavy tungsten frame. If you want to have a competition gun, then you can pop it right back out and put it in a very lightweight frame for concealed carry. So that modularity alone, I believe, is why the US military chose it over the old version of the M9. However, there are some advantages to the M9, which we'll get into here in a second. But that modularity is hard to beat, man. On top of that, we have a consistent trigger pull in the striker fired trigger. This is actually their custom trigger here. You can see the difference. This one's going to be a little bit better than the M18 here. I can unfuck the recoil situation. There we go. All right, let's log it back, takedown lever back in place, and the gun is completely put back together, which is very nice. Now, as you can see, the trigger, the stock trigger on the M18 is very heavy, even though it's a striker fired trigger. And the reset is not assisted at all, and it's relatively slow. Not one of my favorite striker fired triggers, but hey, it is what it is. Compare that to the long first double action trigger, which is actually almost as light as the standard striker fire trigger, and then you have this unbelievable 3.5 pound trigger pull right here in single action that will definitely beat the hell out of the Sig. And then the reset on the Beretta is much faster as well, allowing you for much faster follow-up shots. Pocket reload. Channel my Paul Harrell again. This is the coolest gun. This is the coolest gun ever. Now, the Sig's going to be lighter with their polymer frame, coming at about 28 ounces, whereas this is about 35 ounces. So keep that in mind. The lighter is easier to carry, but heavier is easier to shoot. There's going to be more recoil dampening on this. There's going to be less recoil, less muzzle flip on this aluminum frame because it's heavier and it is positioned more out front. It also looks cooler as well, and it is a little bit more durable over time, although it is harder to replace as we got into. You can buy these for really cheap. You can't buy those for really cheap because the lower on this is the serialized part, so all that awesome moving the trigger, fire control group, and other things can't really be done on this. Stock sights are going to be better on the Beretta. And the sight radius is going to be better on the Beretta. Even though this is the 4-inch slide, the full-size Sig still is shorter than the Beretta, as you can see right there. So not only are you going to get a better sight radius, but you're going to get a little more velocity as well. And if you guys are unfamiliar with how firearms work, more velocity is always better. The same weight moving faster hits harder. On top of that, you're going to get more bullet expansion as well with those hollow points with this guy. So that's why I like all the barrel I can get, and she does too, even though she lies to you about it. Now, the ergonomics on the pistols are going to definitely be different. We have a double single action trigger system over here, and then we have a striker fired system over here. We also traditionally have a lower bore axis on the Beretta than we do on the Sig, which definitely also helps out with faster follow-up shots and the lighter recoil. I'll show you the same thing on the Sig. You can see there, it does sit a significant bit higher, even though it is a striker fire design. Coating on the gun seems to be a little bit different as well. The coating on the Beretta seems to be a little superior to the one on the Sig. This one comes off like like it was put on by cheap spray paint, to be honest with you. And that's one of the ways Sig actually did win the military contract, is they basically sold them at cost. And it was a good marketing strategy, in my opinion. Nobody really cared for these guns until it became the military standard pistol, and now everybody I fucking know has a 320. And along the way, they've certainly improved the design quite a bit, but they still do have some serious drop-safe issues, as you've seen with the lawsuits that are coming out of the woodwork from multiple different agencies and multiple different people. If you have a striker-fired gun without a trigger safety, you're going to have some drop-safe issues more than likely, and this one is no exception. Those issues do not happen on the Beretta. Now, the Beretta has had enough time in usage to basically work out every kink that they've ever had. The only two kinks I can think of with the Beretta was that they had a coating on the magazine that caused them to be a little less reliable than they should in the sandy environment of Afghanistan and Iraq. And on top of that, the original Berettas had a couple of slide breakage issues that they were fixed literally 40 years ago. So all the problems ironed out on the Beretta, not so much on the M17 and M18. That being said, though, as far as speed and accuracy go, I'd have to err towards the Beretta. As far as reliability goes, I'd have to err towards the Beretta. As far as modularity goes, I would have to err toward the Sig. And if you were a new shooter, I'd have to go for the Sig as well, being as that it's going to be a more popular gun. It's going to be easier to find, and on top of that, it's going to be easier to master this gun than it is going to be the double single action trigger. That being said, if you get this and you want to become a good marksman, double single action is a great way to do so. Because if you want to hit a target, you have to pull the trigger all the way to rear without misaligning the sights. And doing that on a double action trigger is much harder. And if you do a lot of dry fire practice and you aim at a light switch over and over and over again and consistently pull this long, heavy double action trigger, eventually your trigger finger is going to be so good at pulling this trigger that a light single action trigger or a striker fire trigger will be a lot easier to use. That being said, there still is a learning curve. This still is a lot more expensive. These are coming anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500, where you can get these for around $500. So there's a lot of pros and cons to both. Which one would I pick? That, but I'm also a man of expensive taste, I gotta say. If you have all the options in the world, the better option is just the better option. But if you can only afford the Sig M17 or M18, you want something that's relatively military proven, and you like the cool factor, you like the look, you love the modularity, the Sig is certainly a great way to go. Many world championships, many police officers, many law enforcement, many military personnel, many contractors use the P320 series. And if they use it, there must be a reason why. That being said, many have used the Beretta as well, but they are moving away from the Beretta to the M17. And I think a large portion of that is because these are cheaper, they're easier to use, they're easier to train on, and to be honest with you, in the military, a sidearm is in fact a sidearm, and most people don't even carry one, let alone ever go to it in case the need arises. So sidearms really are secondary in the military. A lot of times when I look for quality accounts of sidearm usage, I generally err toward law enforcement. Law enforcement altercations generally are more like civilian altercations, which is what I try to represent on this channel. And on top of that, they're more likely to use their pistol as opposed to their rifle or shotgun. So I believe they count on it a little bit more. That's just my personal opinion. But even still, a lot of them are going to the M17 over the older designs like the Beretta M9. Again, cost, ease of use, and particularly that lightweight of this gun, that extra 5 or 6 ounces on your belt line all the time, is certainly a positive. It's hard for me to choose a winner in this. I could tell you what I would pick, and I told you already that if I had to choose a home defense gun / a carry gun, I would go Beretta all day. But I do believe that they're a higher quality gun. I do believe they're more reliable, and I do believe they're accurate. They're more accurate and faster. If you're more interested in the pros of this, believe me, I get it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please help out your local homeless shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.